This is going to be a quick review of the new Crystal Castles album, Amnesty. Amnesty is the fourth album from Crystal Castles. They have released some pretty good electronic music stuff in the past, kind of witch house, dance music, very experimental. They just hit you with loads of weird sounds, loads of weird textures and noises. Kind of chiptune noises were popping up on their first album, my personal favorite, and then they started to get really abrasive with their second album with tracks like Doe Deer. That track scares the hell out of me whenever I hear it. And then with Crystal Castle 3, kind of a step down for me personally, but I did think it was still promising. There were some good tracks on that third effort. But then the main vocalist of Crystal Castles, Alice Glass, left the group, and this left producer Ethan Cath to kind of do his thing, because he is kind of the guy that does all the instrumentals on Crystal Castles albums, and Alice Glass leaving the group kind of left Ethan up to do some pretty interesting things. Maybe he could take Crystal Castles in a new direction, kind of keep going with the more experimental stuff, keep it very challenging, because that's what I loved about Crystal Castles. Their music sounded like the soundtrack for a very messed up video game. Turns out that Ethan Cath brought on another vocalist on to do the vocals. This new vocalist seems to be trying to channel what Alice Glass did on the last three albums, but doesn't really succeed because half the tracks, no, not half, all of the tracks, except for maybe two, feel extremely soulless, like they've just had the soul sucked out of them. And that leads me on to my next point. There's less experimentation on this album. It seems they've tried to move Crystal Castles towards a more mainstream, appealing dance music sound. For Crystal Castles, that just doesn't make sense to me, because Crystal Castles, the experimentation is kind of what made it so appealing to me. There are only like maybe two tracks, Frail and Char, which actually impressed me because they had some pretty nice synth melody lines to go with them. I wish I could at least say it was standard fare for Crystal Castles, but I can't even say that. It's less than standard fare. There are tracks here that sound extremely stale. So much of this album is predictable, very dull, very little in the way of interesting content. And that's my reason for giving it a 2 out of 10.